to me with our host, Kelly Springer. Kelly, how are you? And we have an inspiring guest today, don't we?
We do. We do. We have Dr. David Horton. He's an oncologist, advocate, and devoted husband who transformed in profound personal loss into a powerful journey of healing and advocacy. So, after losing his wife, Didi, his soulmate and partner of 30 years, Dr. Horton embarked on the heartfelt mission of completing and sharing her inspiring novel. Wow, that's amazing. Layer upon layer. This book reflecting Didi's experiences as a college basketball player and coach and deep insights into empathy, resilience. And so we are so excited to truly welcome Dr. David Horton to our show today and to hear all about this story. So welcome.
Oh, thank you so much for the invitation. I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you today.
Absolutely. So first of all, I hear your accent. Where are you located?
I actually live in the Northwest, although I guess the accent, which I don't hear, is I was primarily raised in the South, moved around a lot of places, but mostly the South, and my parents were from the South, and my family's there, and thus it somehow maintains in spite of having lived away for 40 years.
Well, my daughter goes to Ole Miss, so she's down in
Oh,
Mississippi, and so it's always fun to go down and see her and to hear all the accents. I love the Southern accent.
yes. And I visit my family regularly or them me, and everybody always says, "Hey, what happened to you?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" And of course, it's we talk back to people the way they talk to us. That's the human connection that we want to keep with each other.
Oh, I love
Yes.
it. So tell me about your story about finishing this novel, which is really, truly amazing.
Gosh, I guess I don't know exactly where to start except to say but basically, I would start by saying that Layer Upon Layer is a book about a woman's quest for self-acceptance. And it was essentially inspired from my wife's own story, having aspirations in her youth, which really didn't necessarily fit the quote unquote social norm. And her father was a basketball coach, and she followed him along everywhere. And she was born with the gifts of being a great athlete. And everybody embraced that when she was young. And all of a sudden, when she became older and her aspirations were to be a Division I basketball player and sports was her love, it's all of a sudden, instead of being embraced, was, gosh, you don't fit in. You need to change. You need to stop loving that. You need to stop. Don't wear gym shorts, wear a dress, those types of things, which was, I think, very confusing for her. And so in that journey, she had these strong aspirations to reach her goals, but because they didn't fit what other people were expecting through both family and community, she, in a sense, felt invisible because the more she met challenges, the harder she would work and the more committed she would be, thinking that by showing that, it would be embraced by others. And that's not necessarily what she found. And we can talk more about how she watched that going forward as
Really.
a
And this is just
teacher.
so interesting when I had someone on from an ESPN 30 for 30 that was highlighting women's college basketball and how gigantic the sport is, how gigantic some of the big stars now with the NIL deals. What time period did she play basketball in high school, and why were those aspirations not there then compared to now with Title IX and seeing the growth of women's sports, especially college basketball and the WNBA in the last couple of years, to this extreme sense of an opportunity for women in this profession?
Yes. Her experience was in the 80s, actually. So interesting, in a significant time period, but she was far enough post Title IX, which was the early 70s, that it should have been pushed further along. So I think a lot of it was circumstantial, related to family dynamics that didn't necessarily embrace things, as well as circumstances in the community that seemed to value men's performance, but not so much the female experience.
And I think, like you said, Neil, I think she would absolutely love to see what's going on today,
Oh,
right?
it's unreal. And the
I mean,
opportunity.
yeah,
Caitlin Clark is the Michael Jordan and Angel Reese, and what's happened. And now, who's the basketball player that was doing all the commercials in State Farm? Just unreal, the opportunities for women in
right.
all sports, but especially basketball. Uh, Kelly, and it makes you happy, especially
It does. It
being,
does.
yeah.
And I was saying years ago, I have to find it. It's somewhere in a box somewhere. My mom had up in my playroom, girls can do anything. I have three older brothers. And she would say girls can do anything. And at that time, like it was like, yeah, but we were thinking more like you could be a nurse or a teacher. It wasn't really everything. And but my girls now truly believe they can be anything. And I think that so much has happened just in this next generation that it has leveled more of that playing field than we've ever seen it before.
Yes, yes. And one of the things that I would throw into this conversation is one of the reasons why Didi locked in on the title layer upon layer is I think when she spoke about layers, what she was talking about was the programming and kind of the absorption of beliefs that the community around us, takes on, and it keeps us from seeing, hearing, and knowing each other, especially because it requires change not only in a single generation, but it's the multi-generational changes, because the message from grandparents to their daughters who are now parents and all of that, it's all being picked up. And I think it goes into a little bit of a sea of confusion, if you will, because they often conflict unless they're speaking from the same place.
No.
And it makes people have a sense of not fitting in, or maybe I believe women from the beginning, and although things are starting to change, they still, whereas men are allowed to focus on aspirations, I think the females have had to focus on expectations that others have had. And that's what I think is, I'm so happy to see much more change in that, where you have to see it to be it. And again, Kelly, you're a great example of that. You're showing it to your children. That is the ultimate teacher. So that's a beautiful thing.
Thanks. I think that, again, my grandmother, like you said, multi-generation, she didn't have these opportunities. And so she was so proud of me. And then my mom saying that you can do this. And then so we are in the fourth generation of saying you can do this. And so now, what my stepdaughter's in med school, my little one's going to law. Not that those are, but they have been in the past predominantly men driven professions. But it was interesting to see with my stepdaughter's white coat ceremony, there was more females that are being inducted into that class than there were men. And I found out, which I didn't know, right here in Syracuse, New York at Upstate was the very first med school that women were allowed to be a part of. So it is interesting time of where we're coming, but I do believe it is the layering effect, and we need to inspire young females to know what's out there, to know what professions exist, and also it's okay to be a stay-at-home mom.
Well, exactly. And again, that's why so much of the emphasis in my mind on this book is self-acceptance. And self-discovery is figuring out who you are and maybe what you want to be. But the self-acceptance is what's so important, because that's when you truly embrace it and you pursue it, and you don't need the approval of everyone else around you to say it's okay. And that's what I really think frees people to really be it. And yes, the more we see that, the better. And there's a lot of still continued subtle signals. I think that Kelly would agree that women have to, not only do they have to work as hard as a man to succeed in whatever field it is, they have to work harder. And then when you get there, you're probably going to get half the accolades that the guy next to you who didn't have to work as hard did. And I'm not saying that's intentional, because it's all interwoven into unconscious layers of beliefs and things like that.
And
Exactly.
there's definitely still barriers. I think it's been brought up before on this podcast. I don't know if we have or not, Neil, but there is a true statistic that less than 3% of women owners get VC money. Less than 3%. Wow. And that's in 2025. And believe me, I've talked to VC and they're like, oh, maybe find one that gives to women. Maybe find a women's VC group. Like I've actually been told that to my face. And so it still is very interesting. Again, I'm a hard worker. I'll continue to work hard, but it definitely has been, I've been able to witness it.
I think that, Kelly, we're gonna have to start seeing more and more of that self-funding side, both sides, but at VC. And we all know that story of that one scammer that hurt it for VCs in Silicon Valley. I forget her name, but I'm not going to mention it.
Oh, she
Yeah,
wore the black turtleneck.
yes, yes, that she thought she was. I can't remember. I saw the series; it was fantastic, but I did pick up some things that were good of that entrepreneur. How she faked it till she made it, but she faked it the entire time. Now, Dr. David, thinking about the book, what was the ultimate goal of releasing this, especially because your wife wanted to release it, and you decided, I'm going to get this dream to have this released?
My number one reason was obviously I want to honor my wife. She was an amazing human. And so that's my number one reason. But I will tell you, my real directive is my wife taught me about invisible male privilege. And I grew up in a family of all boys. And again, I was just told aspirations, work hard, and you can be it. I did that, and it brought great success for me. And I was very happy with my life. But what my wife taught me is also I was trained to be the fixer. You know, guys, we have to remember this book is focused on programming related to females, which, by the way, males need to be aware of, because a lot of things we say are being interpreted differently because of how they're being heard from a different perspective. But it's just so important that we are aware of the challenges that females are facing. And where I feel so strongly about that is it changed my life, because my programming as a fixer kept me from being a true listener. I was always trying to listen to my wife based on going, oh, I'm going to help her fix this problem. And 9 times out of 10, she could care less about fixing it. She just wanted to be heard, and she was processing herself. She could handle that. And it was causing accidental disconnection. And we were very close by always. But once I learned that from her, and I learned to just kind of listen and be a supporter, not a fixer, it changed my life from all standpoints. I was a better friend. I was a better doctor. I was a better human. And so I see it as a gift to other people. And I believe if they read this of all ages, they will benefit, because it will make them look at that general perspective of not only the programming for females, but hey, look at your own programming to ask yourself, I want to be connected to people, not disconnected. And I think it will teach people a lot and will make their lives better. And that's my other big motivation, because it changed my life. And it was the greatest gift I've ever been given, and I'm trying to pass that on. But it's Didi that brought that gift to me, and I'm trying to pass it on.
That's great.
I love it. So it's interesting. We are now doing this brilliant talk, and I say brilliant because I didn't come up with it. Someone in my team did, and I have help with tons of great smart dietitians, but they put together this beautiful PowerPoint presentation called Women's Health Throughout a Lifespan. And it is for both men and women to understand your wife, your daughter, your female colleague, and what could be going on with her during the teenage years, the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, and so on. And there is a lot going on with us, both with programming, what we're taught, but also physically of what's going on with us. And I think that we need to understand, like you said, both men and women, of where we come into play with relationships. And I think at the work site, I don't know if a lot of men know what could be going on beyond there's a lot happening with a female and the female health and the female body.
And that's
yes.
So I was going to jump in, Dr. David. What I'm listening and hearing is you're true, the fixing. I think we have to learn to not fix problems, but however, unless they ask to be fixed, that they need the help. I think we have to, as men, we make a mistake to want to fix everything when we hear there's a problem, instead of if they do want it fixed. Because sometimes, David, if you don't fix them, if you just listen to everything, you're in trouble too. Kelly?
Yeah, my husband had to fix the door last night. That did need to be fixed.
There's certain things, Kelly, you want fixed, not just the door, but also.
Yeah, I didn't know how to fix the drawer. He does. So
yeah.
He's fixed the drawer. It is interesting. My husband is from a history of physicians. He is one himself. And his dad was a psychiatrist. And I think he did learn a lot of wonderful tools of listening and caring that he has now passed into our relationship. And he is pretty good at listening and not jumping into the fix. But I can see as men that I've seen it happen.
Yes, yes. And with your expertise in nutrition, to me, the perfectionism that is pushed on females, especially as they biologically change, it's all of a sudden, oh, you're supposed to be skinny, but as things change, those cause mismatches and the mental illness that goes with
That's
that.
another book. Yeah, that's another whole book. Like,
yeah,
I still have
yes,
my mom's generation that talks about, this was my daughter's, my conversation last night. I said, Mom, you don't need to discuss everybody's weight. We don't need to have a discussion about everybody's weight. But for her, it was so programmed during that time in the 80s, and Oprah with the polling the whole thing of fat and Weight Watchers. And there was just so much focus there, where now I think hopefully we're swinging the pendulum over to health versus it just be calories and weight. But there is definitely expectations. Talk about a lot of major layer upon layer there, right? I mean, there's a lot with how we look, how we present, and it's interesting, way more than a male.
yes. Yes. And the other thing that the book emphasizes so much, and Didi lived her life doing this, is the importance of mentorship. Mentors in her youth are what got her to hold on to her vision of what she wanted to be. And fortunately, she did, and she tried to pass that on. And that's the other important thing is, boy, mentors and finding it doesn't always come from your immediate family necessarily. It can be chosen family, friends, positive role models. And I want to compliment both of you in that regard, because that's what's so important about what you're doing is you're getting positive messages out. And it really will throw a lifeline to some people that maybe are in an environment where they just don't have anybody to throw that lifeline to them. And so your mentorship is a great thing. And I certainly appreciate what y'all are doing to make the world a better place.
Thank you.
For everyone,
Well,
males and females.
And I think it's so the goal with the book, what is your goal ultimately, Dr. David, with your book?
I want as many people to read it to, number one, know my wife, and number two, reflect on the messages that are in this book. And it's one of those ones that as you read it, it's a simple book. It's a sports story, but this story is totally universal. It goes into a lot of detail early on before more of the drama in the later part of the book. But the reason for so much detail is if the character had wanted to be an astronaut or a podcaster or run a nutrition company, and you're in an environment where people are saying, no, we're going to try to keep you from that goal of being the best version of yourself, you need mentors and friends and people that are going to support that and hang on to that. Listen to your inner voice so that you can be who you want to be. And that's going to lead to a joyful and happy life. And we all deserve that.
That's
opportunity.
Great. So Kelly, what would you like to finish from learning from Dr. David about what he's doing to honor his wife?
I think he has a Netflix series there. I think they should pick that up.
Do you have a goal of going and telling the story more and try to get further? Have you tried to consider that, looking at her story?
No, I haven't thought that far. It's been so overwhelming. I lost Didi 3 years ago yesterday.
Oh no.
And it still feels, some days it feels like it's been 50 years and other days it feels today. Yeah. And so it's just one of those things that, I will talk to anybody about this story. And I want people to know my wife. And again, I want to go back to my goal is the messages. That's what's important, because it saves a lot of unnecessary pain, internal turmoil, and makes the world a better place. And my wife also showed me how to die. She did it beautifully with great gratitude. And I'm trying to pass that all on and do my part to push her messages.
All right, fantastic. Best place we can get your book. Where can we go?
You can find it on Amazon. It's layer upon layer. I'm going to show you my beautiful cover here. I hope you can see that.
Yes.
Yes. And yeah, Didi I have a picture of her beautiful jump shot in the end, but remember, this is a book for everyone. It celebrates all the lessons of athletics. You can, if you're interested in the story in general, you can go to layeruponlayer.com, which will give you a little bit of our personal history. But yes, I hope people will order the book. I hope they'll read it. I hope they'll reflect on it and then pass it on to others and share the messages with them. And I do think it'll do Didi's small part and my small part of trying to make the world a better place.
Fantastic. All right.
So glad we got to meet you. Thank you for your time today. And we're going to share that message.
Absolutely.
Completely.
And go to kellyschoice.org, learn more information on Kelly, and pick up Kelly's book,
The New Weight Loss Era. It's on Amazon as well. And hope everyone can get a little happier, healthier, learn a little bit from both of us.
All right. That was the special simulcast of the Neil Haley Show and Talk Nutrition to Me, guys. Take care.